Hello and welcome to another episode of Amy Hart's Mums Club, the podcast where I journey through the highs and lows of parenting alongside a gaggle of fabulous guests. And that's not all. This podcast is for you. So make sure you check out all our social channels at Amy Hart's Mums Club on TikTok and Instagram. And make sure you follow or subscribe to this podcast wherever you are watching or listening. Now, my guest today, she's done a bit of everything. She's a violinist, she's an author, she's a podcaster, but most importantly, she's a mum to three gorgeous children. Please welcome Izzy Judd.
Oh, thank you, Amy. Lovely intro.
Oh, thank you. How are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
We're kind of 1 week before school starts, so I feel like we're trying to kind of change gear a little bit. My kids are all a little bit feral currently, so
Trying to get back into bedtime routines and stuff.
Yeah, just or any routine, really.
As I said in the intro, you've done so much. One thing that I loved reading about, because I was a proper reality TV kid of the 2000s, was that you were part of Escala.
Yeah.
Like, obsessed. I used to love your stuff. I used to have it on my phone. What was that like, doing all of that?
So, yeah, it was so long ago, and it was really exciting. I mean, we were kind of electric string quartet. We were doing a lot of gigs, and it was kind of our profession. It was kind of what we were doing. It was our career. So then putting ourselves into that sort of reality show situation, we were just suddenly, overnight, just our career and everything changed. It was amazing. And I was with three of my great friends, and definitely a time that I look back on and think, that was a really, really cool thing to do.
And was it after that you went into the string section of McFly?
So actually, it was at the same time. So I went on the Wonderland tour with Harry in 2005, and obviously wasn't with Harry. I was employed as a violinist, and the other three girls from Escala were the other members of the quartet. So we formed Escala, and I met Harry. So it was a good moment where I kind of found my future husband and my future career in one.
Iconic. Yeah. Like, work smarter, not harder. So what we all want to do. So you did meet Harry, and you had three lovely children. You've got Lola Rose, Kit, and Lockie. Now, Lola Rose was from IVF. How was the IVF experience for you?
So Lola is 9 now. So it was 9 years ago, and I wrote about our experiences in my book, Dare to Dream, because at the time it felt like nobody was really talking about it. And I sort of assumed that IVF was for older couples, and you're going through a real emotional roller coaster. But actually, you realised once I sort of opened up and started talking about it, how common it is and how difficult it is. And I think, we're taught at school how not to get pregnant, but we're not really taught about the other side of it, which is that, the difficulties and understanding our monthly cycles, and that actually it's not necessarily easy to get pregnant straight away. So, but the actual IVF experience, the moment I remember kind of most clearly was when we had our embryo transfer, and the embryologist projected the visual, like the image of the embryo on the screen in the room we were in. And obviously it's quite clinical when you're in that situation, but it was just this really magical moment because we could see there was hope and possibility, and the embryo looked like kind of a moon, and you could sort of see the craters in it, and with a flash of light it was released and obviously put in me, and that was a really beautiful moment of IVF. So I think it's incredibly grueling and very overwhelming, but there was that kind of beauty in the process as well.
You did a podcast called Let's Talk Fertility, which obviously very, very successful. Was that sort of a good outlet for you to talk about things and to sort of spread the word without actually having to? I find a lot of the time, especially if you're doing like solo podcasts and stuff, you feel like you can say what you want because there's nobody sat there. It's not like when you're sat in front of like a group of 20 people and they're sort of nodding and talking to you and stuff. Did you find that quite a useful outlet to be able to spread your sort of information?
Yeah, and I think I just wanted to give people a resource, like an offering of conversations that would hopefully be supportive, and informative, and to help people feel less alone. So it was a very therapeutic experience to do Let's Talk Fertility. Yeah.
And it's now sort of evolved into Let's Talk Neurodivergent Kids. Again, did you feel that there wasn't enough sort of support, or there wasn't enough information, or you wanted to collate it all into one place, or just share your experiences?
Totally. So I think there are loads of parallels between Let's Talk Fertility and Let's Talk Neurodivergent Kids, in that when you're going through those two situations, it feels incredibly lonely. And with Let's Talk Fertility, it takes time to build the courage to kind of open up about these topics. I'm sure you can relate to that
Hmm.
as well. It's sort of you're putting yourself out there. But then you realize that people, and with Let's Talk Neurodivergent Kids, that people find huge comfort and reassurance in what you're saying. And then before you know it, you feel part of this tribe of people who really understand the complexities and the layers of everything that we're going through. So even though I might be the voice on the podcast, I kind of like to think of it as the voice for all the parents who are going through this. And I just want to be a kind of the person in the middle that's accessing those conversations.
Mm. Obviously, anyone who's listening that does have neurodivergent kids, go and check out Izzy's podcast. But if you had sort of one big piece of advice for people that maybe have new diagnosis or are sort of going into that space, what would it be?
That's a big and great question. I think
I have just sprung on you, so I do apologise.
no, I think as a parent, do try to trust your instinct. You don't necessarily, there's lots of things that you can do. There's lots of early interventions that can be done without a diagnosis. And I think as a parent, if your child isn't following the same sort of trajectory that, maybe other children are at the same time. And I think you have a pretty good instinct. Trying to remain kind of firm on that can be difficult when you've got a lot of exterior voices giving you different information and different opinions. They're just being naughty, or this is just typical of that behavior. Sometimes as their mum, I just needed to just really trust that gut instinct. And I think if you are going down that process, I think try to also remember the complete brilliance in neurodivergence, and how much we need these brilliant brains. And I hope that one day there isn't a difference. It's just the way all our brains work. The things that would benefit neurodivergent kids would also benefit neurotypical kids in school setting, for example. So I think we're just trying to move that conversation forward so that it becomes, we normalize and we educate, and we're more accepting of the spectrum of brains.
It's so amazing that you share all these things on podcasts. Like you say, like being that resource for people. I froze my eggs 5 years ago now, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I sort of vlogged the whole process, and then I started editing them myself, but because nobody knew that I'd done it, I sort of wasn't on a time constraint, and I started editing them, and then my memory card like went missing or got encrypted. I can't remember which one it was. And I didn't end up finishing like the videos.
Yeah.
And people now, still 5 years later, I get messages on Instagram being like, "Hi Amy, I'm looking for part 7 of your egg freezing journey." And I'm like, I'll send you a voice note. I'll fill you in there. I'm like, I'm really sorry. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I never thought, like, because I don't have a big presence on YouTube and stuff, I never thought that it would actually be like really helpful to people. When I have like my egg freezing like highlights on my Instagram still, and people still reply to those stories and ask questions. I think
Mhm.
it's so good to like share all these things, because this
Absolutely.
people want like lived experiences, don't they?
Yeah, totally. And I think that's where social media can have such a positive place, because you can sort of find a community that you sort of still have that non-identity, don't you? You don't have to, you've got that sort of bit of your own self, but you're able to access what other people are saying and get a lot of help from that. So I think what you did there is amazing because, as you say, it's surprising. You go, my goodness, there are so many people going through this.
Yeah, it's crazy. Now you're working with Holland and Barrett about sort of the stats around and all the research around kids taking time off, especially in that first term when everyone's been in their own little bubbles and they get back and everyone's got the germs and it's the winter, and about parents having to take time off. Shock, it's more women than men. Um, how interesting have you found all this work, and sort of what have you learned from it?
Yeah, it's been really interesting research that Holland and Barrett have conducted. And actually, as you say, it doesn't really surprise me either. One of the stats was that over 50% of parents noticed their children were off sick within the first 3 weeks of going back to school. And you're like, I've just got them back into school. And, as a family, you have your routine and your structures. So when someone gets ill, it kind of throws the whole thing out of whack. But I think what's great about what we're doing, I suppose, it's looking at proactive ways to look after our well-being as a family. And we all, as our family personally, it's you want to do your best to keep everybody's immune, especially as we're going kind of into the cold and flu season. So yeah, I think lots of parents that listen, it's that debate of, okay, if my kid's off, now what? Because it then throws the juggle into even more of a spin.
I think as well, like, my first thought with anything parenting wise is, what do my mum and dad do? Like, what do mum and dad do? Like, before there was all like the sort of just with anything parent related, because there's so much online now about all different feeding and sleeping and all this. What did mum and dad do? But I feel like now people are working longer. So when I was a kid, like my nan was like 47 when I was born, but she sort of worked a couple of like little part-time jobs and stuff, but her main role was looking after us. So
Yeah.
if we were off school sick, my mum would drop us to my nan's on the way to her going to work. Whereas now, because people are working longer, like there's that whole generation that sort of aren't able to do the childcare, or maybe don't want to. I think now a lot more people are sort of owning it and saying, actually, I want to be a grandparent, not a babysitter.
Yeah. And we're not necessarily living close to our families. I think my mum always had her mum round the corner, and we don't have that sort of same village setup. But I think, it's that classic thing of we need to look after our children's like well-being, but it's also looking after our own. So Holland and Barrett have curated this brilliant kind of immunity bundle. So I would highly recommend going and checking that out to kind of prepare yourself for for the coming
What sort of stuff's in the bundle?
so you've got multi-vits, which my kids love, and actually my daughter's often telling me, Mum, you've forgotten to give us the vits. It's so funny. She's like this little, as she's getting older, I'm noticing just this little, she's like my little, mimicky voice. Yes, you've got the multivits. You've got some really lovely like vitamin C sachets, which taste well, I like the taste, they're very yummy. And then obviously immune supplements for adults as well. So there's all sorts of things. You can head over to Holland and Barrett website and or even into the local store and just find out more.
Amazing. One thing I want to talk to you about, just because it's part of one of my favourite celebrity interactions of all time, is I met Anita Dobson. I've met her a couple of times. She's my favourite celebrity. And obviously Strictly is back soon. And she was talking about her time on Strictly. And she was saying about how you do like the sort of like the dance card bit where everyone's there and you try out all different partners.
Yeah.
And she said, I saw Harry and I said, he is a drummer and he does not miss a beat. That boy is going to win. And then he did.
Yeah,
I was like,
it was on the same series.
yeah. And she
She's
said,
so lovely, isn't she?
she's my favourite celeb. And I said, I met Brian May. I got to interview him. He's now Sir Brian May. He wasn't at the time. And I called him Sir Brian May all day. And then at the very end of the day, he was like, just to let you know, I'm not actually a sir. And I was like, okay, at least it's
To me,
factually
you
correct
are,
now.
and he was
Yeah,
amazing.
that's literally what I said to you. I was like, to me, you are.
Yeah.
But I don't know why I thought he was, but I thought he was. And I said to him, your wife is my favorite celebrity I've ever met. And he was like, mine too, mine too. And I
Oh,
was like, oh, I love that so much. But with Strictly starting, obviously, you two still going strong all those years later. What would you suggest for the partners of the people that are in it?
I think it's really tough now with the social media because when Harry did it, there wasn't any. Can you believe that? So there wasn't, yeah, it was well, there might have been, but it wasn't like
A bit of Twitter, but not like it is now.
2011. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just think it's so easy to kind of formulate these stories, which, and rumors and all that horrible other stuff. Um, to be honest, when Harry did it, he was amazing because he's very I say this, he's very feminine, Harry, in many ways, in that he's very sensitive, and he won't like me saying this, but he's kind of got that understanding that actually for me it's difficult, and so he went out of his way to kind of make sure that I felt comfortable and that I had a good relationship with his dance partner. And so it was, he never gave me any reason to feel anything. So I think having that communication and feeling connected, because even with all of that, it is one of the difficult things is it's an experience that although I was beside, there, it wasn't my lived experience. And it's one of the things
Hmm.
done which I haven't been part of in that sense. So, his sort of winning and all that, I was kind of, it was amazing, but it's also you feel that kind of, I want to do that with you. But it was, yeah, it honestly watching, he can now dance. I mean, we go, if we're like at a wedding or something like that, and he'll just whisk me around the dance floor.
Oh,
And he could not dance before. So yeah, amazing.
we did a choreographed first dance, and now my husband's like, I want to start dance lessons together. I'm like, in what time? We have no time.
I
But
know. I
yeah.
kind of feel sad Harry isn't doing more. We did a choreographed as well, and we did a waltz, and I just felt constantly sick from being, spun around.
I love that. But I like the way that you sort of acknowledge that it is hard. And I think I was reading Sophie Ellis Bextor talking about it as well. And like, so many people are like, no, 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 it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. There's no curse, whatever. Da, da, da. And I love it when people are like, no, it is hard. Because like you say, it's so like sort of it's their thing. And you're there like on the Saturdays, like having a lovely time. But and you got to do Wembley as well. Because they didn't do Blackpool then, did they? They did Wembley.
So they did go to Blackpool, but not for the final. Oh no, no,
Yes.
no, no. Blackpool was the final.
Oh, Blackpool was the final.
Harry was
Because
in
they did Wembley
Blackpool.
halfway through, didn't they?
Yeah. No, it was Blackpool final. Yeah. Yeah.
So cool. I love it so much. One thing I'm going to start asking all of my guests from now on, because it is, I mean, look, we're in the Burr months now. I feel like I can ask this. I strive to be as magical a mum as possible. What is something magical you do for your kids around Christmas, just so I can take all of these ideas and collate them into one big magical Christmas for my little boy?
Yes. So let me think about this. What are our little traditions that we do leading up to Christmas? Um, so if I'm like answering completely kind of, I suppose directly,
Yeah.
so I have 3 kids, and Christmas for a neurodivergent child is the worst thing possible on this planet because they've got to open presents and say thank you. They don't know what's inside the present. The Christmas songs are playing loudly, the Christmas lights, there's changes at home, there's changes in the school routine. So for one child, it's like trying to keep things as same as we can. But for the other children, they're like so excited because it's Christmas. So I think what we tend to do now around Christmas is we've always had our kind of routine of putting up the tree, and we try and make it just not kind of what's the word, like not a big thing. So I just kind of go, oh, should we put some
Yeah.
things up?
Who wants to help can help.
Yeah. And actually, it's quite hard to let go because I like decorating the tree a certain way, but I let the kids decorate the tree.
Mm.
So I just hand that over rather than trying to prepare it. So I think the magic in Christmas is letting your kids have more control on how they want the Christmas tree decorated.
We used to decorate our tree, and then we'd come down the next morning, and it would be magically different, magically all all symmetrical. We'd be like, oh, okay. And
Totally.
once we decorated it all, and obviously put too much on the front of the tree because we're all sitting watching telly, and it just went just fun.
Flat.
But thank you for that. You basically,
I'm not getting your real tree too early, because that's
no.
the thing. Then it's died by the time you get to
Yeah.
to Christmas.
This thing, so basically I am a crazy Christmas mum, so I'm just going to ask everyone just so I can piece everything together. But I did read something which I probably should adhere to, in that your kids should lead the traditions. Just because you did something when you were younger doesn't mean that they want to do it too. But
as a mum, I do think that there's this expectation for Christmas, because ultimately, I don't know whether you're with me here, Amy, because maybe, I don't know, Harry's bandmate Tom is like absolutely fanatical about Christmas and like counts down till Christmas Day. And as a child, I loved Christmas, but I have to say, now as a mum, I realise that it's more about the kids. I find Christmas now just I find Christmas now just quite overwhelming to get the day you want to give them this day. And I think it's just taking off some of that pressure. And as you said, just letting the kids, have a magical day and not worry too much about it being absolutely,
I'm still in the middle rung of the family tree, so I get to just turn up with my child, and everything's done. Because obviously one day I will move up a rung, and then it'll be me. And everyone says, "Oh, you love hosting. Why would you not want to host?" I'm like, no. My nan hosted until she couldn't anymore, and then it fell to my mum. Yeah, and she will host until she can't anymore, because then it will fall to me.
Yeah, totally.
I'm like,
no, leave it.
My mum always says, all the time you can turn up with your young child and just enjoy the day. She's like, get away with it for as long as you can, because I did too.
Oh, that sounds like a good plan, Amy.
Yeah. But thank you so much for joining me today. So you can go into Holland Barrett and check out their immunity kit for back to school. Hope back to school goes smoothly for you and all of your family. And I'll be back next week with another fabulous guest. Until then, don't forget to follow us on all the socials at Amy Hart's Mums Club on Instagram and TikTok. And don't forget to follow or subscribe this podcast wherever you're watching or listening. And I'll see you next week.